This is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
Do you think we need one more?
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Do you think we need one more?
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
All right, we'll get one more.
Spectators, a comic book podcast with Jake and Jesus.
Welcome back, spectators. You have made it. We have made it. Another week, another episode of Spectales. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Jake, along with my very bearded co-host, Jesus. Jesus, what's going on?
The beard is back. It's been distilled. It's been It's concentrated beard now. Beard.
It's a constant. Did you trim? Did you trim it?
No.
Oh.
No. Remember, I'm like Samson, dude. If I trim, it's game over. My comic knowledge goes to crap, so can't do that.
Oh, God. Yeah, definitely don't trim it because I just shaved this morning and I forgot everything.
Yeah. That's about par for the course, though.
If this is your first time joining Spectales, thank you very much for giving us a listen. Spectales is a comic book podcast that asks collectors and creators, what's your grail tale? Each week, we explore new stories about the comic book grails we love, the epic journeys behind how they were obtained, and how they inspired new creativity.
We also dive into some comic book speculation and how, as collectors, we can help the hobby pay for itself.
Now, Jesus, we took a little bit of a hiatus sandwich, as we talked about on the last episode. We're back at it, but we're trying this a little bit new. We're changing things up a little bit as far as how we open this show. So let's immediately bring on our guest because he's just sitting there awkwardly in the background wondering when we're going to call his name. Everybody who is a existing listener who's listened to our previous episodes, you're going to know who this is. He goes by the name of Joel or Newbie, whichever one you prefer. Joel, welcome back to the show.
What's going on, fellas? It's Newbie Comics. What, fourth time on?
Well, you did floppies, so I think this might be fourth. You did 2 floppies episodes.
Okay, so basically, I'm your all-time leader in appearances.
That's true.
And just based on that, first I want to welcome you, Joel. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate you having on.
I appreciate
you're Jake's guest, but I also brought a guest, Chris, Vancouver Comic Junkie.
No, you
welcome
did
to
not.
the show.
Did you see my eyes? I was like, oh my
He was waiting, where'd he go? I just want to clarify, Chris Vancouver Comic Junkie is not on this episode because even I was looking for him as well, waiting for his line to just pop up. He is not on this episode. That is a funny joke we played on Newbie before. We made him feel like he was going to be the only guest on the show, and then we brought Chris in. I think that was for an episode of Floppies, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Floppies. That was definitely Floppies.
I honestly, I was telling my friends and family, and then, I had friends and family be like, oh, you're not the only one. And then they just, yeah. So, yeah. I knew this day would happen. So
plenty of inside jokes coming on this episode, everybody. If you want to get in on some of these jokes, you can always go back to episode 6. Were you the 6th? Episode 6? You were one of our first guests ever, I believe.
Yeah, like I was 6, but in your heart, I was number 1. So
yes. Well, back then I think
I was 4. I think I was 4.
I think you were the 4th guest, but at the time, I think we were only doing every other. We would do an episode with just Jesus and I, and then we would have a guest, and we did every other. So I think, you might be 6 or 8. I'm not 100% sure what.
I love how it keeps growing like further out every time we talk. It's like, no, I think you were 4. I think you were 6. No, I think you were like 8 or
episode 48. Everybody, no. But go back, find it's one of the very first episodes. He was one of our very first guests, and it's a lot of fun. That episode, you told a Grail tale that was really more of a Grail fail. Because you didn't acquire the book.
Yeah, the Speedo Fantastic Four #4 issue. Yes. Yeah.
Have you acquired that book since?
No, but I'm waiting because everybody seems to be like selling that book, obviously due to Black Panther 2 being over and where the market is now, right? Once something's done, it's just like sell. So I'm just waiting for the right copy to arrive. You know what I mean? I think it's perfect time right now in the market to be patient. Like there's no rush.
I mean, that's a bigger conversation that we can maybe have on a floppies, because why is that? Why do people hold on to these huge keys? I remember it happening too with what is it, X-Men 4?
Scarlet Witch.
Like,
Yeah,
it was so expensive. And this was still during the boom. The movie comes out, and then people are just unloading it. Like, why did you hold on to it? Why didn't, if you're gonna sell it, why not sell it at the top of the market versus waiting? We all know what happened. It's not a huge secret. You know, we talk about warm blankets, and then we talk about, you know, after the thing comes out, it's gonna go not all the way down, but it's gonna be significantly cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you should buy if you're looking to buy. So yeah, that's definitely a pretty interesting conversation. But yeah, man, I'm also looking for that book as well, because Namor in Wakanda is a different character than that, and the actual comic books, at least the origin. So I'm really digging that character. So I'm gonna be looking for that book.
Also, spoiler if you haven't seen the movie and we just like spoiled something for you. I do apologize. I feel like I have to do that because I just spoiled something terribly for a friend, and yeah, he's not speaking to me. So.
You spoiled Ant-Man, you jackass.
Oh, you spoiled Ant-Man?
2 days after release date. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Now, Jesus, so I think you bring up a good point. I think that is a really good topic for our floppies. Maybe we'll write that down somewhere so we don't forget, bringing up how to play the market and why the market does what it does after the movie comes out. If you're wondering what floppies is, that is actually our Patreon exclusive series. We drop one episode per month exclusive for our patrons. And we actually need to do something right now to thank some of our new patrons. We do something, what do we call it, Jesus?
The Scars Army Roll Call.
Yeah.
Man.
All those sound effects are built in, of course.
Yes.
They're baked right into the show, everybody. We can't do anything about it.
It just happens. You don't even got to press a button.
So with the Scars Army Roll Call, we are going to thank two individuals that just joined within the last 2 weeks. So since our last episode, we've had two new patrons, and we want to start by saying thank you to Benjamin, or as Jesus likes to say, Benjamin Treader. Benjamin.
Yes.
Benjamin, thank you. Ben, maybe. I'm not sure. Can I call you Ben? Are we close enough? Thank you very much, Ben, for joining the Scars Army. We really appreciate the support for the show, and hopefully you are already enjoying some of those past Floppies episodes that we've done in the previous months.
Some of those back issue episodes, if you will, in the back bins. I also want to welcome to the Scars Army another good friend of ours now, Joshua Long. So Joshua Long, we really appreciate you joining the Scars Army. Enjoying some of those back bin episodes that we have that are pretty cool, if we do say so ourselves. Pretty interesting, pretty funny. We have a lot more in store coming shortly, including some really cool comic books that we're going to read here as a group in the near future. So thank you, Joshua Long. We appreciate you. And for anybody else that's interested in the Scars Army and joining, please go to our Patreon page. What is it, Jake? www.
If you go to patreon.com and just search Spectales, you will find us that way. Otherwise, in the show notes for this episode and every episode, we always put a link to that page where you can read all about it and how to support the show if you want to do that. And we appreciate anybody who even clicks the link to consider it. Even if you're like, maybe I'll support the show, we're already thanking you. That thought alone is like, holy shit, you even thought about it? That's really nice of you. Okay, but all things aside, we got to kick this show off. We've got one of the one of the OG guests on the show, and we need to get a new Grail tale because I'm going to admit, I know what it is, everybody. He's talked about it for years. I mean, he's been talking about this book since he was an infant. And it took him until he was the ripe old age of 33?
34 and a half.
34 and a half is when you got the book, when you acquired it?
Oh, when I acquired it.
See, this story is 34 and a half years in the making. But
That's right.
everybody, if you're a regular listener, you know we can't get to the Grail Tale segment until we first do
recent pickups.
That's right, the recent pickups segment. And Jesus traditionally kicks us off. So, Jesus, the mic is yours.
All right, man. I got two. One very comic booky, one very, very comic booky. So, and one of them is also kind of a spec almost. And I've been mentioning to you, it's right here. Harrower #1 from Boom Studios. I was looking for it at different locations. LCS is here in Houston, but I guess there was some ordering issues with independent publishers, and we had some bad weather up north that didn't allow them to come in on time. So I got it about a week late. But I mentioned to you to reach out. I reached out to you and told you to get it because it's doing something pretty interesting. I'm showing the cover 8 to everybody.
Hell yeah!
And what it's doing is the way I described it was it gives me kind of Friday the 13th vibes. It's a slasher. And they have this cool slasher with a cool weapon. And it's kind of like an equation, right? Like a slasher has a mask. What kind of cool weapon does he have? What's his backstory? Is it cool? Is it interesting? And this one has all of that, but it also gives me Friday the 13th vibes. So what I told Jake is it already has me hooked, and it's either going to do one of two things. It's going to do a twist on the slasher, or it's going to be somewhat the same, and it's just going to be an okay book. But so far, I'm excited about it. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool artwork. So again, Harrower #1. If it does do something cool, I mean, you got a built-in potential spec there because it's kind of difficult to reinvent some of these slashers, like with the guy from Scream the Mask, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, all those guys. It's kind of hard to reinvent them because they've kind of been done for a while now. So that's my first pickup.
Well, I just want to say, I mean, first and foremost, when those characters were released, they were still the first, right? Like they did their thing, and even Scream came over a decade after Michael, over a decade after Freddy, and Jason, and all of those characters. So the Ghostface was still able to reinvent in a way, but the more important thing for all of our listeners is Jesus is guaranteeing either the reinvention of the horror genre or the slasher or an okay book. I mean, you're not losing here. This is a win-win. Now, one is a much bigger win than the other. It's like one of them is like, winning the World Series honestly, and the other one is
Hey, there's still championships, man. How many does Nebraska have? That's what I want to know. When was the last time?
This isn't about Nebraska. This is about Houston.
When was the last time the Yankees won the World Series?
This is apples and oranges.
Nebraska doesn't have a team, guys. I just want to reiterate that they can't come to the big table. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Then the next one.
Go ahead.
The next one.
Oh, we got a paper bag.
Ooh.
Oh.
I finally got our gift from a friend of the show, Dan Braun, who sent over this really cool Uncle Creepy print.
That's sick.
I finally got it. What is this?
Framed?
Sorry. Yeah, framed. And it took forever, man, because I guess I went during the wrong time during the Christmas holidays, and it took forever for them to do it, but they did a fantastic job. And I finally get to put it up. These are numbered as well and signed from Eric Powell. So I just wanted to put it up because it was just hidden. I had it in between some comic books, and I just think it's really cool. It's the whole Creepy family, including Uncle Creepy. And it was gifted to us by a listener. So this is my second pickup. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but this is my second pickup this week, and it's just really cool, man. I probably put some pictures up so you guys can check it out once it's framed. But yeah, that's my second pickup, and this is really cool. We really appreciate Dan, who's a friend of the show and keeps in contact with us about all kinds of comic book stuff. So thank you again, Dan. This is really cool. I just wanted to share it with you guys.
Man, I am so jealous that I didn't think to frame it first. Jesus and I each received one of those. I think I got the lower number of the two.
No, Dan was very specific. He said that I got the lowest number.
I think I got number 1 actually. No,
mine is 0.
How many did he make?
I don't even know, man.
I don't know if we got that.
It's on the bag.
Did he say 500? I think it was a total of 500.
I think it was, I think it was 500. Mine's in the 130s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So not only is Dan a great friend of the show, he was a guest on the show. I'm thinking it was like August or September of 2022. I have no idea what number it would be. I can't even begin to guess. But then additionally, he is a regular supporter. He constantly will email us and talk about, an episode or something like that. So we really appreciate that. And he is the owner of Creepy. He owns Creepy. And that was the best part was we were just talking about Creepy Magazine because we love it. Creepy and Eerie and all the Frazetta covers and just the incredible artwork in all those magazines. And I still have Creepy number. I have 1 through 10. I think I'm only missing number 7 right now. And I need to keep that collection going. Either way, I am extremely jealous that you thought to frame it first. I don't know how I didn't put that together already. And it looks amazing. You did a really cool job with it looks a lot like the Eddie Munson. Yeah, you got it framed just like the Eddie Munson Master of Puppets frame that we both each have as well.
So the only changes I did to that one was I made the black frame on the outside smaller, and then the bumper I made it match the creepy letters so that it would come out. So those are the only changes I made. But yeah, I mean, I got the idea when I went to go get that one framed.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is not too bad. Let me try this one. I have one more to get framed. I have the signed Tupac Department of Truth from David.
Oh yeah.
That I have to get signed, but that's the biggest one and the most expensive one. So I'm kind of holding off on it for right now. But that's the last one that I have from I guess comic book related that I want to get framed soon. But yeah, I'll definitely be getting it framed pretty soon. But yeah, that's why I thought about it because I got that one done first. I knew I had to get that one framed. And I said, okay, well, let me get Creepy framed too.
Hell yeah. Nice. All right. Well, Joel, I hate to say you got to follow that up, but you got to follow that up.
Oof, man. All right. So I did actually just do like as recent as like a few minutes ago. I just picked up 2 books. One I was actually been looking for a long time. It's super modern. Well, not really, but it's from 2000. So it's Marvel Boy #1. Never really came across a lot of raw copies. So sometimes, you have to just kind of do your research. And, I've had it on eBay for a while, but, even on eBay, it's selling for like 300 plus Canadian in a 9.8. So I actually just scored one for $97 in a 9.8 on auction just now. It just ended. So I'm pretty pumped.
Congrats.
I'm excited. The only problem is, and BC, I know you're listening, I blame you. And I'm not blaming you that I bought the book. I'm blaming you because at the start of the year, I had my main list. These are the books I want to get. And I did a great job. I've only got 2 left for the whole year. And then he came out with this BS side quest stuff. And I'm like, what's this? And he's like, well, it's just some side books to kind of like keep me motivated to get my main books. I go, you haven't even got your main books. Like, why don't you focus there? And we just went back and forth. So now this whole side quest stuff has just got to me. And I made a side quest list and he doesn't know about it, but this book was on the list. So now I'm blaming him because now I'm losing focus, right? The other book too, super modern. I picked up, and this is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. A lot of people don't know that, and it's probably because I'm an Iron Man fan, and by association, I can't like anything Captain America. Oh. Now, before you guys go crazy, no, I didn't buy first Cap America and Silver Age or anything like that. No. But one of my favorite characters since he came onto the big screen is Bucky, Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. And I had a 9.6 of Captain America 6 when the show came out in 2021.
Yep.
And like any influencer or flipper, depending on how you view me, I flipped it. I flipped it for way more than I got. And because the book is down, I just picked up a 9.8. So I picked up a 9.8 for $85 US on auction.
Nice.
Yeah,
great.
Which cover is that one, man? Is that the Captain America or is that the Winter Soldier one?
So here's the thing. I got the cover A with the blue Captain America. I get that a lot of people are still going after that variant, like the B cover, because he's on the cover. I just can't get past that Nazi symbol. I don't know why.
That's fair.
I don't know why. Like, I don't like a lot of those old school war stuff with the Nazi. I'll take bondage for sure. I'll take the bondage. But the Nazi, no, I can't do the Nazi. You know what I mean?
Jake, you gotta give it to him like you did to me when I said that. So come on.
I don't remember what I said.
You said something to the effect of, "Hey man, what you do behind closed doors."
I can do that stuff, man. Like, the aliens coming down and the girls are bondaged up or about to get thrown in a cauldron. Like, I can do that. Just the Nazi stuff.
What about I agree, man. Like, I struggle with that as well. I just do. I've always struggled with it as well. But there's one cover. I mean, obviously, one as a comic collector you want, or you would want. Mm-hmm. But I also think it's cool because it's Captain America punching Adolf Hitler, right? Like that one I would want and I would be okay with. But you're right, man. There's some other ones that are like, they're not like glorifying it by any stretch or by any means, But it's just there, and I don't want to have to look at it or deal with it. So I don't know. I agree. I get what you're saying.
Totally. And that is an entire genre of collectors who just go after the World War II Nazi covers. Yep. And I can see both sides to it. Obviously, I don't think any of them are glorifying or praising in any way Nazis. In fact, most of them are usually the Nazis are losing, or it's propaganda on the other side of the table that against the Nazis for the most part is my understanding. But I could see both sides of that argument as far as for or against. I could see it makes you uncomfortable. There's a lot of Nazi bondage covers. I can't remember what there's one specific scene that's done in multiple different ways, but it's usually like the Nazis are doing experiments, or they have somebody on some sort of like bloodletting table or something like that. I know there's one specific one. Ryan with Automatic Comics, he would know this. He'd be like, oh, that's this. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably an LB Cole cover or something like that. I was gonna say he's a super Nazi cover collector, but that's not. Does that sound wrong? That sounds wrong, right?
Yeah, it sounds a little wrong. I think. Yeah.
You don't say that you're a Nazi cover collector, do you?
Yeah, it's just for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I like the character, but I don't know. I didn't want to have that on my wall or like see that every day. Like something like out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, that's the one right there.
Okay. Yeah. That's not even the one that I was even thinking of. There's another one where it's like a blood machine. Like, it's a big metal table.
Comics. It is LB Cole. I know what you're talking about. I'm looking for it as well.
Yeah, but there's a lot of LB Cole covers that are, I mean, LB Cole just having his name on a cover, it doesn't even matter what it is. It could be, pink puffin birds. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if it's an LB Cole cover.
That's Taffy Comics. It's just like,
oh my god!
I bet somebody would pay a lot of money for that book. Taffy Comics.
Oh yeah, I'm sure $600.
So I get you, Joel, and honestly, I think so you got the recent pickups for both of those books right now.
Right now, yes.
While we were talking. Jesus and I are having a heartfelt conversation about our memories with you and previous episodes we've done with you, and you're not even paying it. You're just
heartfelt memories. Yeah, I think you were 6, but I think you were 4, but you were like 8. Like, you were between 8 and 10. So when we were doing that, I was like, oh, this is a good deal. I'm gonna pick this up. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have been picking it up, but obviously in the last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, there's been those Disney homage covers. I picked those up. Growing up with Disney, obviously we can all say that. So I've been picking those up, but it's like I was saying, off air with you, just it's been busy for me. So the last couple months, like I haven't been with show. I haven't really picked anything up. So these books right now that I've picked up while we were going live, like that's pretty much it that I've bought since probably like November, maybe mid-October.
Well, I'm going to take some credit for them then. I mean, that we influenced you to buy them.
You
we'll
pushed
take
me,
that.
man.
Yeah, we'll take that.
We've both been, for the most part, on also a hiatus of purchasing, right, Jake? For the most part, I kind of broke the ice recently with that collection, and that's only because it was such a dumb deal that I was like, man, I got to do it. Like I wouldn't be able to consider myself a collector if I didn't pick up that collection.
Yeah,
so,
I would have too if I'd had that opportunity. Yeah.
And that's the only reason, because I haven't been buying, man. Like I put a bunch on the watch list. Like I'm looking at which one am I looking at? I don't know, like a couple early X-Men. I think it's like the first Locust, which is not a huge book, but I just like it's a red cover, you know, stuff like that. But they're just on my watch list, man. I'm not pulling the trigger.
Yeah, that watch list is dangerous though, because that's just one step closer to buying it.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is, and I was talking to Jake about it, but in short, like I don't want to take up too much time on it, but like I'm at a point where the market is so down right now that patience is the key. And I like every week I'm like, okay, the book's gone down $5. Okay, the book's gone down $12. So like I'm constantly saying that to myself, and it's gotten me to about 3.5 months of like not really purchasing anything, because some of the books I want, it's just going to be patience. Like there's so many copies of them that it's like, like one of the biggest ones that I want, the two that are left for me is New Funny 66, which is first Felix the Cat. Really hard to find right now, but I'm chasing after it. And then Fantastic 448, Silver Surfer, my second favorite character. But for those, like everyone and their grandma's got one. Like I don't really have to like just buy the first cover, the first copy or the cheapest copy. Like it's just gonna feel like, okay, what grade, what price, all come together, and then do it, right? So
yeah, agreed. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah,
I think Jake is too.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely have some books that are on my list that I'm just, as of right now, everybody listening, that we've talked about it on the previous episode and on the recent floppies that we've dropped. I'm trying to buy a house, right? And so I got to do what Jesus says. I got to stay liquid. I got to stay liquid right now. And comics ain't liquid. I mean, they sure are good, but if you liquefied comics, what a mess. So that's where I'm at currently. Yeah. But for my recent pickup, this is one I've been meaning to read, and I have read the first issue. I believe that so I got a trade, and it doesn't really break up I got to an ending point. So I'm assuming I made it to the end of the first issue, and I am absolutely intrigued to continue. Jesus, you told me to read it. Our good friend Lance at Comic Book Keepers told me to read it, amongst other people. This is Daniel Warren Johnson's Murder Falcon. And it is rock and roll like that. I don't know how else to describe it. So there's a guitarist who has a backstory about why he doesn't play guitar anymore, which the first issue only touches the surface of it. I need to get more deeper, but but there are also like kaiju monsters in this world, and they are coming through this gateway, and he realizes, this former musician realizes that when he plays this specific guitar, a murder falcon comes out of it. He's like a rock falcon, right? He's got one giant bionic arm, and every time the guy plays a chord or a note or anything on this guitar, it fuels the murder falcon, which then the murder falcon destroys the kaiju. So like he fuels this bird with rock and roll. I'm telling you, it sounds ridiculous because it is, but it's also so well drawn. The artwork is phenomenal. If you were a fan of, or you remember Do a Powerbomb, which was a huge hit this most recent fall when it finished up, also great, worth reading. Daniel Warren Johnson, the art's the same. It's just as gorgeous. And the story is equally as compelling. So I don't know where it's going, but I'm a sucker for kaiju. I might actually be I didn't know this before, but I may actually be like the world's #1 kaiju fan. I didn't know it, but I think I am.
It just got uncovered recently. Like
Yes.
they were looking for the #1 fan. They couldn't find him. Jake
And now
finally
I'm raising
said,
my hand.
crap.
Oh, it's me. It's over here. Come here.
Oh, it's me. You got years. It's actually me. I'm right here.
Until you make the fan page like a separate Instagram account, I won't believe it.
I'll have to
That would be
rename.
enough.
I'm going to
Jake already
rename
has one.
it. Yeah, I'm renaming Omega Red. But that's so I'm through the first issue. Seriously, I'm behind on all my reading. I'm behind on collecting. I appreciate everybody out there sticking with me. I still have people messaging me like, oh, hey, this Creepy magazine. I'm still looking for Creepy #8 and Creepy 50 are the two highest on my list for those books. Those are pretty cheap, affordable books to get, more or less. And those are kind of the ones I'm looking at within those realms. Those are probably the soonest ones I would get because a lot of the other books on my list, they are not small books. And I'm not even willing to say them because somebody is going to try to hold my feet to the coals and get me to buy something. And I can't. I just can't. You know how hard it is to look in your account and say, I could buy it, but I cannot. It's easier when there's no money in the account because then you're just like, well, I ain't got any money. I can't do it.
That money's earmarked for something else.
It is.
But man, real quick, man, on Murder Falcon and Daniel Warren Johnson, I've heard about him for a while. I picked up the Beta Ray Bill miniseries that he did with Marvel, which was also fantastic. And apparently he has a Wonder Woman arc as well that he did for DC that I have not read yet. But when I read Murder Falcon, I was like, oh, damn, this is pretty dope. And I read it afterward. I got the trade. So it was already after this had taken off. And, I saw devoted people that are like hardcore Murder Falcon fans and they talk so good about it. And I was like, oh man, these guys, that's like, it can't be that good. Or like, I don't know, like there was just some sort of like doubt in my head of why there were so many. And then I started reading Do a Power Bomb and I was like, damn, do those people have a point? Like, So then I went back and I read Murder Falcon. I was like, damn, man, Murder Falcon is so good. Yeah, they had a point and I was behind on it, which is fine because I get to read it all at once. But now anytime somebody wants to read something cool or different or interesting, I recommend Murder Falcon or Do a Power Bomb. So that's why I recommend it to Jake. And if anybody else hasn't read it, do yourself a favor, go pick it up, read it. It's pretty fun. The artwork is awesome. And it's just, it's going to get to Jake. He hasn't gotten deep into it, but he's going to get to Jake like Do a Power Bomb did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting there. It ain't gonna take long. I'm gonna maybe I'll even finish it tonight if I have the strength to stay awake. And for all of you out there like thinking I can't read it or like I'm trying to catch up. I haven't even gotten to watch Last of Us yet. Right? This is how far behind I am. I can't even watch I haven't watched Ant-Man yet. I haven't I'm so far behind on life. Everybody should be ashamed of me.
Since Joel spoiled Ant-Man, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil The Last of Us for you.
I spoiled Ant-Man. Oh,
fun guy. That's it. I spoiled it.
I know the premise. That's not so. All right, now this is the part of the show everybody has been waiting for since I teased it at the beginning. Joel, everybody has just been like, you know what? Some people probably fast forwarded through the last 20 minutes or however long it was that we did the recent pickup segment. And they're waiting for this.
Grail Tale.
Grail Tale.
Grail Tale. Grail Tale. Grail Tale.
The Grail Tale segment. And this is a Grail Tale almost 35 years in the making. If you include the 9 months in the womb, you might actually have 35 years into this.
Yeah, I wish I would have collected it like earlier. It would have been way easier on my wallet, on a lot of things. So
that begs the question, Joel. Why didn't you pick it up when you were 6, dude? Like, come on.
Yeah, I ask myself that all the time, man, and I hate it because people are like, "Oh, dude, why didn't you pick it up in like 2000?" When it was like you could say that about any book.
Yeah, but there was that. What's the graph where it shows like your age going up, but also the money in your pocket, and then the price of the what do they call those diagrams? I can't remember.
Like the hot crazy scale. Like same thing.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what?
The mess around and find out scale.
I always remember. There was a shop that had a Tales of Suspense when I was younger, and then the same shop ended up having Iron Man 1. And I get it. People would be like, "Oh, it's Iron Man 1." There's so many of them. Yeah, 100%. But the Iron Man 1 was a 8.5 at the time, I think it was.
Wow.
And the shop had it for $300. Like that's kind of the prices that we're talking about.
That seems super cheap now for a book
now. Yeah. But if I talk to my grandpa, he'll be like, "Yeah, gas was like 25 cents back then."
Yeah. I could have got that book for a nickel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's all relative to where you are. I'm sure like 15 years from now, like my kids or people be like, "What do you mean you didn't pick up Donnie Cates's Quasar 1 that just came out in 2027? Like that's the biggest book." And it's like, "Oh, I don't know. Sorry." Like, it's all going to happen.
You know what? There are people that chose to get ice cream in the 60s over buying this book. And I think that's what you always tell yourself. Hey, there are people that chose ice cream over this book back in the 60s. They're really kicking themselves. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway, so without further ado, the book, what is the book? What's the Grail?
The greatest comic book of all time. Tales of Suspense 39, the first appearance of Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. It is probably one of the top homage covers that a lot of people do. It is the guy that kind of kicked it off. And I don't want to hear people be like, "Well, actually Blade or Hulk started the MCU." No, stop. It was 2008 Iron Man 1 that kicked it off. So here we are years later with it. But yeah, Tales of Suspense 39.
How long, legitimately, because when we talked to you a year and a half ago, and that book was on your list, and it had been on your list for a long time. It was on your almost unachievable list, really. I think at the time you didn't even think you were ever going to get one.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think I was going to get it. It's been on the list for since 2017 is when I really said, "Okay, I'm going to go for it." But again, it wasn't. I kind of had those fights with myself, like, "Oh, am I really going to spend this kind of money on?" And don't hate me, but am I really going to spend this money on paper and plastic that's just going to
sit on your wall
behind me? You know what I mean? Like, even though I wanted it, it was just one of those things where I'm like, is it, like I can't, it's not like I can take this thing to the mall. I can't take this thing to the gym. I can't, it's not like a pair of shoes.
Can't live in it. Yeah. I can't sleep in it. Like, can't eat it.
Exactly. Right. So, but I will tell you that I did take it to work for the first 3 days I had it. Like I had it in my backpack and I took it to work and I literally did not leave it. Like my wife was like,
they had to take your comic book to work day at your office. Man, I wish my office had one of those.
Oh man. No, I didn't want it out of my sight. Cause I'm like, what if I left the door open and someone came and robbed me? Or what if that, just all those things were going through my head. And, it was crazy times, man. There was a lot of things, but yeah, since 2017, just actively going through it. And then probably the last year and a half, I was in denial. I remember having conversations with Chris, Vancouver Comic Junkie, saying, "I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm never going to get it. So that's it." And there was a few people that pushed me to it. And then there was a few people that were like, "I hope you don't get it, because I don't think you're going to collect or enjoy it anymore." And I'll get to that near the end of the Grail Tale for sure.
Nice. Well, you want to walk through the process of it a little bit? Like when did you start thinking, okay, I think this is gonna happen? And then like the searching, like finding the one that was right for you, because over the last year and a half, Jesus and I both knew you wanted the book. And there were times we would see one, for sale on Instagram. And I know you were getting it from a lot more people than just us. We would just forward you like, "Hey, this is here it is. It's for sale." And I think we would even send, I think at one point I even sent you like a 6.0 one that was wait.
I was gonna say. Thankfully, and big shout outs to everybody, Vancouver Comic Junkie, Ryan Automatic, Swag, Mickey. You guys were sending to me like all the time. And yeah, you had messaged me that 6.0 and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to sleep on the couch.
Was it like 50 grand? It was, I can't remember. It was
yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. But yeah, so
it's a little bit out. Huh?
Well, it's crazy though, right? Because like even my wife or my friends, they'll see the books and they'll be like, what do you mean you paid this? Like it says 12 cents, it says 10 cents. And it's like, yeah, like back in the 60s, you know what I mean? Like their mind doesn't, like work like ours when it comes to it. But yeah, 2017 really pushed it. All last year I was kind of just in denial that I wasn't really going to grab it. I wasn't going to get it. And I finally picked like a good one. I was going on my comic shop, Heritage, eBay, everything. Anytime one popped up, I saw it, or people like you guys were messaging me, and it was great. I got to pick through a lot of them. But again, when you're talking about a book of this magnitude, whether you like the character or not, it's a blue chip. It's a big book. It's a popular character, and they're not like $500. And I want to say that lightly because I know $500 might be a lot to some other people, but I had kind of flipped my way and had a few things go my way in order to have the cash. So I was able to just look. Now the thing was, it's like anything. And I kind of related to like kind of before I met my wife, like I go on dates with women. I'm like, ugh, she laughs weird. Oh, her hair is weird. Oh, she doesn't like this. That's just what it was. It turned into this with books. I was like, I don't like the corner. No, there's a stain on the bottom. No, I don't like the back. No, it's, the Iron Man logo. No, there's a tape. Like it was just so many things that I was like, oh man. And then a lot of them that I actually wanted to pull the trigger on would sell super quick. And I didn't have a chance. And I'd always have Ryan be like, "Oh, you should have bought it sooner." See? And I'm like, "All right, man."
That's a perfect impression of Ryan.
On that,
perfect Ryan.
Yeah. Well,
I actually thought he was on the line with this. That's uncanny. It's uncanny.
So this book, for whatever reason, and here's why. It's a crazy ride. From actually talking to the person that I bought it to actually confirming the purchase, it was 3.5 weeks. Like we were going back and forth 3.5 weeks. We were talking about trades. We were talking about this, and there was a situation that actually happened to one of our friends. And I know you guys know who I'm talking about, but Mickey, aka Swag, he was part of, buying, or what he thought was buying, or making a trade rather for one of his biggest grails. And, we all know kind of how that went. It went sour. He got scammed. And unfortunately, he never ended up getting the book. And that was the same time that I was making this purchase. I was making a trade because most people don't realize is I actually gave cash plus my giant size X-Men 5.5 in order to get this book. So I was very nervous.
Yeah.
So the way it started was somebody had messaged me a link to Facebook Market. And I apologize if you guys listeners don't have Facebook anymore. It's kind of like getting to that like MySpace thing where like
territory. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you say to young people like, MySpace or Facebook. Ew. That's just kind of where we're at. So somebody has sent me a link and I had a red flag because one, this person sent me a Facebook Market ad from Alabama. I do not live near Alabama. I do not live near the southern states. I don't live in the States. I'm in Canada. So right off the bat, I was like, this is kind of weird. So the guy goes, well, he sold a few books, I guess. So talk to him. So I talked to him. And he goes, hey, yeah, I've got a shop. I'm like, what's the address? So I can Google. He's like, I got thousands of customers and reputation to hold and this and that. I couldn't find the shop on Google. I couldn't find the shop anywhere. Like, so like all this stuff, I'm like, okay, man. So we start talking. He says, look, I don't need this book. I picked it up when I was younger. So he told me flat out, he's like, he paid like $300 for the book or something like that. So he made like 3 million%, resale value here. Like he's probably wishing he picked up more, but, he's like, okay, well, here's the thing. You got to send me the book and the cash. And that's when the red flag really went up in the air for me, because I was like, I got everything to lose here. And I don't pull this card often. And I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys pull this card or if this has ever happened to you, but this guy was like 65 years old, retired, just getting rid of all the books, getting rid of his shop that he supposedly had. He says to me, send me the book, send me the money, and then I'll send you the book. And I was so nervous because of, again, what was going on with swag. Couldn't find the shop online. I couldn't find this city. I Google Maps where he lived, and it was literally like in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like freaking out, right? So finally, a week later, I message him again. I go, hey, man, is there any way that I can send you the money or send you the book rather? And then you send me a picture of the book packaged at the postal office, and I'll e-transfer you the money. He goes, no. I go, okay, no problem. So I just let it be. I let it be. Surely enough, like 3 days later, he messages me back and he's like, hey, man, are you still interested in the book? And I said, yes, but unfortunately, like, I don't feel comfortable, sending you the book and the money. I had told him about swag. He goes, listen, and I know Jake's called me Joel, but it's Joel. But regardless, it's not near here or there, okay? Hey, this has happened my whole life, man. Don't worry about it. There's some people who call me Joel, some people call me Joel. It's okay. So he goes, look, Joel, I'm not gonna, I'm not here to scam you. I have a reputation to hold and customers if they ever found out. And I pulled the, hey man, do you know YouTube? And he's like, yeah, I use YouTube all the time. I go, well, I'm actually a YouTuber. And I felt so stupid saying that. Like, have you ever been that, like, where the words just leave your mouth and you're like, that's so dumb. Like, why did I say that? Right? And he's like, and I'll never forget his response, because his response was 3 question marks. And I was like, oh, he doesn't understand. So I was like, oh, I'm kind of like an influencer. Like, I talk about comics on YouTube. So I screenshotted my Instagram and I was like, look, like, how many followers I have. Like, so I have a reputation too. He didn't respond for about an hour. So I don't know what he did in that hour, but he did not respond. We were replying like back and forth pretty quickly. So so his next response an hour later was, so are you interested in the book? which I took like so much offense to, but at the same time, my brain was like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, it's good because the stupid thing you said didn't. So I was like, okay. I was like, look, this is what I'll do, man. If you are okay with me sending you the book, you make sure the book gets to you 100%. So there's no cracks, nothing, whatever. And I package my books extremely well. But again, this is a giant size X-Men 1. This is a big book. The value of the book was at the time, I think it was 37 US, 35 US, somewhere around there. Book gets there. About a week and a half later, because it was also a holiday. So we actually lost some time because of the holiday.
Was it Thanksgiving?
I think it could have been Thanksgiving. Yes, thank you. Because you guys have your Thanksgiving on a completely different month, which is ridiculous. But anyway, never mind. I don't want to get there. So we had that happen. So he finally gets the book, and it made me very nervous because he messaged me saying, hey, I have the book. The book, came back. He took like 1 million pictures of the book. And I'm like, are you teasing me? Like, I don't know. So he's taking pictures of the giant size. He's like, it's perfect. Just the way I like it. Okay. Then all of a sudden, I don't hear from him for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I'm like, oh my God. And I felt terrible. Like, it was just that sick feeling. Time was going so slow. I was like on my phone like every 2 seconds. I think I messaged my wife being like, I think I got scammed. Like everything's just going through my mind. About 2 hours later, he messaged me and he goes, I'm at the postal office. And I messaged him. And I don't know if it was just instinctively, but I messaged him 3 question marks. I go, da-da-da-da. And he goes, you said you would send me the book. You said, go to the postal office, take a picture at the post office. So I'm right here at the postal office taking a picture. Boom. So he takes a picture. I go, send me your email. We did not organize this very well. So I said, send me your email. So he goes, oh shoot, I have to go back home because he didn't remember his email. And I'm like,
Oh my
God
God.
damn it. So there again, I'm waiting like half hour, and he's like, hey man, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow. And then I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, the postal office. Like, I'm a half hour away from my house, so it took me an hour to go. I'm like, God damn it. Right? So I have a picture of him at the post office. So I was like, okay, calm. But if you guys are ever put in this situation, like going to bed.
Oh yeah, you're not sleeping.
Nerve-wracking. Yeah, like people at work were like, "Hey man, is everything okay at home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why? What's wrong?" And they're like, "I don't know. You just, I'm like, "Okay, thanks." That's just the perfect way of being like, "You look like shit." So next day, I'm on my phone, just like looking at it. Like no work was done at all. Like I'm just looking at my phone for an hour. Just not doing anything. Like there was a period of time where I would come home, my wife would be like, "Hey, how was work?" I'm like, I don't know if I did anything today. Like, because I was so laser focused on this, right? Finally get a message around like 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. He goes, "Here is a picture of me at the post office." And I wish I had the picture still. And he literally took it, but then he tried to take a picture with his phone like this. So kind of like a selfie with the package with him, and then him holding the email. And I was dying laughing because I'm like, man, you could have just typed the email and just like, I didn't need a photo of the email. Like, so he's there and I go, perfect, man. I'm going to send you the money right now. If anybody's ever done any transactions on PayPal, you've got to be very careful, especially if you want to save some money. You got to do it friends and family, right? So I sent it to him, not friends and family, because I was in a rush. I was too excited. My blood was flowing. I was like, so I sent it to him and he goes, "No, man, you didn't send it to me, friends and family. Now I'm going to have all these taxes and this and that." And I go, oh, fuck. So that prompted him to wait. He goes, "Call PayPal," because PayPal took forever to answer my email. So I had to call PayPal. He was literally there for like 2.5 hours outside the post office.
Oh my God.
Waiting for me. So PayPal gets through. We do it very quickly, like the fastest thing I've ever done with PayPal. And they refund my money, but it took a process, emails, things like that. The worst thing was I wasn't able to use that money for 24 hours or 3 days. I can't remember the exact thing. So I was like, shoot. So now I had to transfer more money into the PayPal from my personal bank. That took a little bit. So the guy was there probably like 3.5 hours at the postal office. Because of me. Again, we did not organize this whatsoever. We were just doing this like we had just met.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah. So I finally sent him the money. And then, of course, everyone's worst nightmare. "Hey, man, I don't have the money yet." "Hey, the money's not there." "No, I still don't have the money, man." And I'm showing, like, I'm like, "Look, the money's sent. Like, I don't have an answer for you." Finally shows up around like 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Like, it was bad. Finally, he said, "Listen, I already shipped your book. Like, here's the photo." So, like, that was awesome. But, like, the fact that he waited there, yeah, that was nerve-wracking. I then was encountered with another problem. The shipping to ship it from the US to Canada was going to get me into trouble with I was going to say tariffs, but it's not, like 1801. Duties, imports, all that stuff, right?
Customs.
So I had to think outside the box. So I called a friend of mine in New York, or Jersey. And I was like, "Listen, can I get this shipped to your house and then you ship it to me closer to me for this PO box that's like just over the river in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, US side?" Because I'm literally like 20 minutes away from there. So it was close. He goes, "Sure." I was taking a chance at this place just simply because, the way my buddy described this like warehouse in Buffalo was like, yeah, there's just a dude there and like you just pick up a package. Like you just tell him your name and there's just packages everywhere. And I go, Okay. But the worst part was like when somebody tells you that, like if you guys were like, hey man, how was how was Olive Garden? I'm like, oh man, great breadsticks. You should go there, right? You're probably thinking, hey, they probably have breadsticks. No, you go and they're like, oh, we haven't had breadsticks for like 12 years. Then you come at me and you're like, no, when was the last time you were, Olive Garden? I'd be like, oh, 12 years ago. It's like, it's kind of like that, right? Where I'm like, my buddy who told me about this was like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. And then I go, oh, okay. Followed by his comment of, oh, but I haven't been there in like a few years. It's like, what do you mean?
I'm supposed to go off of that?
Yeah. So I'm like freaking out. So I'm like, oh, please work. So my buddy in Jersey gets the package. He goes, dude, it was nice knowing you. Goodbye. And I was like, ha ha ha. But he didn't talk to me for the day. Like he went full on this act. Like he did not. And I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, he's not going to ship me this book. So he decides to ship the book, and gets it over. So I literally, because of that, saved myself like probably like $500, maybe more, just in duties and taxes and things like that. Yeah, because the other guy, the original seller wanted to do it like 100%, like. Not like we didn't do it legally, but like he just didn't want, if anything goes wrong, he didn't want it to come back on him, right? And rightfully so. Mm-hmm. Finally get the book. This is a 5-6 week process from when I met the guy on the Facebook Market to everything. Finally get the book. And my wife, as I'm opening the package, she's like, you're probably going to want this film. So I'm opening it and I'm like, I don't care. And I'm literally just like, going nuts. And there's a video of me that I posted of like, I open it, I finally have it in my hands, and I'm like, oh my God, finally. And then my wife kind of does one of those where she like comes like right up to me, and I was like, oh no, just no. And then the video ends. I would be lying to you if like I didn't bawl like I would if I was watching Titanic like that. You would bawl. But this, I was like, it was just one of those where I'm like, oh man, got a little bit emotional because it was my Mount Everest. It was the top book. It was the book that I've been chasing, and it felt great. Like even now, like I'm wearing a sweater, but like I've got goosebumps telling you guys this story because I remember that day. I remember that feeling. I remember everything about it, the laughs, the bad, everything, the red flags, everything. And the book, I'm pointing to it right now, right beside my Iron Man 1, right beside my then best Iron Man book, Tale of Suspense 40, second appearance. But it has not moved from there. It is something every time I come into this office, that's the first book I look at. And as soon as I put it up there, I said to my wife, if there's ever a fire, just know I have to get this first. I'll come for you next, but I have to get this first.
or if you want to just, you get the book, then I get you, then we'll go then.
And you could just imagine, married people, you could just imagine how a wife would react to that. She was
really
shakes her head, but yeah, that's the thing. And you know what? It's I watch people get like their grails now, whether it's like a massive book or not. And again, people have different price points. So like your grail book could be $100 book. It could be if you go to a Spawn collector, like some of those rarer books, they're like $250, $300. Like you never know financially what's going on. But when you see those videos now of people actually getting like their book, dude, I feel so happy for those people just because I know the feeling of it. And it changes you, man, because I didn't collect or buy anything for probably like 3 weeks after that. Like, because I was just like at my mountain peak. I was at the top of the mountain. I was like, shoot, now what? You know what I mean? Because you just collected like the biggest book that you wanted. So I don't know. It's a journey though, man. Like,
I mean, it is, man. And not only that, but like, I don't know. It's such an awesome story. It's a big boy book. It's a blue chip book. First appearance of Iron Man. Also, I feel like there's so much like new age of collecting that happened in your story, right? Like how long it took, And I think, I mentioned this to Jake a little bit as well. Like, there's a lot of older people in the community or that collected before that are starting to, liquidate or get rid of their collection, for retirement or for will purposes, whatever you might want to call it. And there's guys like us that may be a little bit young, even, 40, 50-year-old guys, even younger guys that are going to be in these situations where, to get a blue chip book like that, you're going to have to jump through some hoops, because that's what it sounded like you had to do, jump through some hoops to get there, go through some red flags, and then also be, have some ingenuity to save yourself that extra money having to go across, a border. I think it just makes it that much more sweeter to, for this story that you got that book and that you have that story that went along with it, that you were able to overcome these issues. And now you have a really cool story to go along with your really cool book, man, which is at the very least, 5-6 years in the making, which is really a lot more, because that's when you decided that you were going to go for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So congratulations, man. I got goosebumps listening to I got goosebumps from when Jake told me that you were close, and I was like, oh man, like it's this shared like thing for collectors, man. That's like, I want you to get that book, man. Like, I want you. If I can help in any way, I'd do it. And we want to put people in contact with other people to get these books, because that feeling right there is just something that all of us want and want to share in. So thank you for sharing it, man.
I appreciate it. And you know what? One part that I did leave out when I told my wife, and my wife has been like great on this. Like, she has accepted my comic life from day one. But when I told her where the book was, she goes, she's a huge college football fan. And, her team's Alabama, and from a long time ago, not just now. Like, she knows her shit. And she was like, why don't we just fly to Alabama? We'll go see a game, and then you can go get the book. I'm like, okay, I don't think you understand. I'm trying to keep my costs down. I'm not going to fly out to go pick up a book. Like, but that was just what it is, man. And no, you're right. It's a great feeling when you get it. And just the context, right? Like, just YouTube, Instagram, like, you're able to meet so many people now, and like, they can, kind of push you into a way like, hey, I actually know somebody who has this book and things like that.
And another thing you reminded me of real quick that I did want to touch on, you mentioned it and you said it, but I'm going to like restate it. Like, that book is your book, right? That was meant for you, because like you said, some had a stain, or some had this corner, or some had this, spine tick, or, fading or whatever, but your book called out to you, and that was your book. That ended up being your book, and you chose it. And it's both good and bad that we have that, right? That we have all these people that we know that send you stuff, because you're going to see so many of them.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're also going to be like whittled down and frustrated. Like, I'm just going to get this book, right? Whatever. But you also get to pick, which book becomes yours and how you make it your own. So I think that's really cool as well. We have, that option that we get to see more of these books, even the big boy books like yours.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's why we call it a Grail tale, right? I got to tell you, man, there were some really cringeworthy moments in that story where I was like, oh my God, this is a happy ending? How is this? Man, the other thing that I wanted to say was, that moment where you were talking about the goosebumps and the tears, and you were getting, the real high emotional part. I bought 5 books on eBay while you were telling that story. No.
Oh man, here I was thinking like, oh, this is great. This is awesome.
I'm just joking. I was paying attention. I wasn't buying anything on eBay. I got to stay liquid. I can't buy right now. Man. So, but no, awesome story. We've been waiting for it, right? Because you came on and you told us you would give us the story, a year and a half ago. First. Yeah, you told us you would give us the story, and the thing was we were starting to think you weren't going to get it. That's why we kept sending it to you. I mean, it really wasn't like a friend thing; it was like a content thing.
All I was just a piece of content for you.
All right, Newbie. No, thank you very much for sharing that. It's got to be top. Man, I got to say that might be top Grail tale of the year so far.
That's right.
We've only had 2 episodes though, so.
I'm gonna say, just don't say this is in February. We'll be fine.
No, seriously though, thank you very much for sharing. And everybody out there listening knows that leads us to our final segment. Speculation. That's right. The spooky speculation segment. Jesus, I'm going to let you lead this one off.
All right, man. So as you guys may or may not be aware, I recently picked up a pretty decent sized comic book collection that has some really cool books. A lot of books that I feel like it's actually helping me out as a speculator, as a flipper, I guess, if you want to say that, but also just, gaining more comic book knowledge and of some cool books, right? And I mentioned to Jake a couple of them recently. So, but my speculation is part of that, I found some of these books in it. Like, oh, this is cool. This could be some cool spec books. I might hold on to these after all. I didn't even know where to look. So, there's been the hype machine kind of starting to build with Deadpool, the next Deadpool. There was a New Mutants 98 in the collection, which is, I think, the biggest book that was in there. But that's not the one that I'm going to be specking on, because that book is already, pretty hot and continues to climb. But when we talk about Deadpool, you start thinking about who are some, characters in the MCU that Deadpool can potentially cross over with, that they might have some history with, that might not be, your main ones that you're thinking about. So I thought of both the Punisher and also of Daredevil, right? We know Daredevil's in the MCU. He looks like he's going to be the type to go in and out of different, TV shows or movies as they see him and need him to do. Like, he was in Spider-Man and now he was in She-Hulk for the meantime. So maybe he's going to be in Deadpool 2. I don't know. They might have something going on. So when is the first time that Deadpool meets Daredevil? And actually, it's the first meeting and battle of Daredevil and Deadpool. And it's actually in this weird series called Silver Sable and the Wild Pack number 23. So that book right now, I think you can find it for anywhere between $5 and $12 in high grade. If that were to happen, that book is going to go up. And I talked about another book like this that skyrocketed, which was the first appearance or the first battle between Wolverine and Deadpool. And it's an awesome cover. Now that book has skyrocketed, right? Because we know we're going to see them in the next Deadpool. This could be the same thing, and it's a super cheap book. Why not get it? The other book is the first meeting between Punisher and Deadpool, and it's actually in the Deadpool series, Deadpool number 54. So, thinking rated R, thinking of the super violent stuff that's happened in the MCU in the past, and the Punisher was, even though it wasn't MCU proper, done by Marvel itself, it was part of the Netflix deal. The Punisher is still going to be a character that MCU will, take advantage of and use because he's very popular. So that's the first meeting of Deadpool and Punisher, Deadpool number 54. Also a fairly, $5-10 book, maybe $15. But again, if they do come out, which I anticipate they will at some point, because they have history, that book might go up as well. So those are my two spec books that have to do with Deadpool, and also obviously like some weird books that nobody really, hunts or knows about. These could be in your dollar bins, like Silver Sable and the Wild Pack. Who knew about that?
Yeah, Jesus. What was that book again? Can you repeat the first one?
The first one is Silver Sable and the Wild Pack number 23. It's the first meeting and the battle of Daredevil and Deadpool.
Yeah. And it's actually super interesting that you chose those two books, because today on social media I had seen and read that there's photos of, and I forget their names, but the actors that play. Yeah, I've seen that book. Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. But Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, two characters, and they've been on scene. So obviously, they're probably going to be in Echo. They're obviously going to be in Daredevil. So who knows where to see it? So yeah, I like those picks, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can get a few right every once in a while.
A blind dog is right twice a day, or something like that. What's the phrase?
That's the exact phrase, Jake. You nailed it.
Blind dog is right twice a day.
That's right. Yeah, you never heard that?
No, I'm gonna start using it to my wife when she's like, "You're not listening." I'm like, a blind man twice a day. Yeah,
a blind man with a dog twice a day is happy, or something to that extent.
All right, Newbie, you are up.
Oh, for spec?
Yeah.
Yep.
Holy okay. All right. Okay. Get professional. So a good spec play, and super obvious, I think, and this is going to shock a lot of people, but I'm going DC with my pick. Oh, I thought you were gonna have like a sound effect, like dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
I usually
they're
don't pick.
baked in.
I usually don't pick DC, but one that kind of made the hot list. One that kind of, well, I'll throw two. Both are DC actually, but one that made the hot list and kind of cooled off right now. Brightest Day #4. So first appearance of Aqualad. That's garnered a lot of attention. A lot of people chasing it. You can still find them in dollar bins because I know somebody who just picked one up locally. So that's a good one to have. Also, the 1 in 25 variant for that is super cheap. A lot of people don't even know that it's a 1 in 25, but you'd be surprised to find it in bins as well. Now, my second pick is a book that I actually have a lot of, but I'm starting to think we're going to be headed that way. And they're fairly cheap. Most of these are actually, in the condition you're finding them is already 9.2, but Batman 436, first Tim Drake. Now, with the James Gunn announcement of him continuing and wanting to grow the Bat family, he started off with Damian, and that book obviously went, bonkers. I do think that if they go that route, they're going to probably go after other Bat family characters. So I'm going to stick to picking that one up. I think down the road, that could be the same thing as Damian, because I know a lot of people were picking up Damian and people were laughing, being like, you're an idiot. So I'm going to continue to do it. And I like both those books.
Yeah. Great book to have anyway, the Tim Drake one. I think I think it's a great pick. Nice. Got to represent DC. I'm going to buck the trend of the major two, and I'm going to go with an Image book for mine. And it's not an expensive book, and not even in that old of a book. It's one that I think is going to be coming up fairly relevant here pretty soon. The book was already optioned. They announced that it got optioned last August, I think. It was last year. And it's a Scott Snyder book. I like Scott Snyder. It got optioned. The book got hot, and then it really cooled off. And they are going to be starting the third arc of that book. And I think the third arc is starting in 2 months. I think it's April. I don't have the date on it yet, but Noctera. I'm gonna go out and say the book is down. You can get some real nice copies of Noctera #1. A lot of really good books to look at. A lot of variants to look at. I would say if you don't have a copy at all, Noctera #1, just the cover A is a really nice. It's a great cover, good artwork, and honestly, great story. It has been optioned. Scott Snyder he's had some good options lately as far as like Witches. Amazon said that they were going to be turning that into an animated series. Great writer, New 52. Everybody keeps talking about Court of Owls, might end up somewhere in the works somewhere, potentially with Battinson and the Batman #2. So Snyder's a great writer. He's one of my favorite writers of all time. Noctera seems to be something that he's really excited about the option. I think it was Netflix. So take that with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Netflix. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But, what's the phrase? A blind dog is right twice a day or something like that.
Twice a day. Twice in time.
Yeah. So it could
How
be
does it even
Noctera.
make sense?
You just Google it. And so I'm saying Noctera, I mean, the book is a little bit low. I think it'll hit another peak point when the final or the third arc comes out. And, so you'd want to pick it up before then. So if it was on your list before and you maybe forgot about it like everybody else did, maybe go pick it up now, see if you can get it a little bit cheaper. But in general, I would highly recommend reading it as well. Really great villain in that story. Great villain. The villain's probably better than the lead in it.
I like that pick.
Yeah, and just, to piggyback on that too, there's so many variants for that book, man.
Yes.
And then they're cool variants too. So you see any of those variants, 1 in 10, 1 in 25, this thing makes it to production and onto the small screen. It's gonna be good for you if you're wanting to use it as a book to help fund the hobby, or if you really like the story and you want to get it before they kind of get out of hand. now is the time to do it. Great one. Great spec pick on that one, Jake.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I everybody loves a good villain. If you don't have a good villain, I mean, you can have the greatest story in the world, but you got to have that good foil. And I tell you what, that one has one of the most horrifying villains I've seen in comics in a while. So great one. So thank you very much, Newbie. That's going to bring us to a close. And you have somehow survived another episode. And I think we're going to have to run this back on some of these floppies. We might have to do a 1-year anniversary for the first floppies we did with you and Chris and Shipwrecked. You remember that game?
Dude. Yeah, we were talking about that. That was a lot of fun. I mean, this is obviously like super fun, man, hanging out with you guys, chatting. So I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Four or 5 times. Let's just say 5, but I hold the record. I heard, yeah, we'll round up. So I hold the record, and I hope to, be the record holder forever. So.
You are the record. You're Bono. South Park fans will get that. All right. That is all. A little bit of a longer episode, but since we're only going every 2 weeks, I don't think anybody listening is going to complain. At least I hope not. Don't send those complaints to me. Go ahead and at Jesus on those. At Guaranteed Comics.
I'll forward them right your way, Jake. No worries. No worries.
Thanks again, Newbie. Really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you out there listening. We'll catch you next week.